copyrighted.
Hi, I'm Denise.
I'm Geff.
And we are Mountaintop Photo Works. Over the past few years, Geff and I have been working on being able to be nomadic. So we're both very lucky that we have full-time employment, full-time jobs, but we also are able to work remotely. So we work from home, which really means we can work anywhere as long as we can get on the internet. And for years and years and years, that has been a challenge, right? Whether you had your LTE working or a campsite had Wi-Fi access, they're generally unreliable. That limited our choices about where we could go, when we could go, and if we could get our day jobs done. So recently, Starlink has come out with an RV mobile unit that basically allows you to be anywhere you can get a view of the northern sky and get internet. So with that in mind, we are now going to try today to test out our solar panel and hook it up to our Starlink and see that we can actually make this work and maybe take it on the road in the future. So many of you probably know Geff and I because we also have a photo tour business called Roadrunner Photo Tours. And so that part of our business, actually, we take people all over the country and all over the world, actually, to do photo shoots and get out, do landscape and wildlife, and we've gone to Greenland and Iceland and Africa. Patagonia is coming up, and so for many of you, you probably know us from our photo tours. This particular channel, though, is going to be focused on something different. It's going to be focused on sort of our journey around the country, hopefully, eventually, as we pull these pieces together. So just the sort of trials and tribulations and the successes of all of this adventure that we're planning on having in the future. And so each little podcast or blog or vlog will kind of take you on bits and pieces of that journey, and maybe you can learn some lessons about things not to do, learn some tips and tricks about how to do things, and maybe take an adventure for yourself in the future as well. So we're just going to look forward to sharing all of these random experiences with you. So let's get started. So let's take a look at a few of the pieces of the puzzle. So our portable suitcase style solar panels are from Renogy, and that's just the case it comes in, which is pretty cool, nice hard case. And here we have the actual solar panel. We've just started setting things out, so it's early morning yet, and so the sun's not quite up, but you can see the sort of bits and pieces here. Let's take a look from the other side. So here's the solar panel, and it's just this two-part panel. It generates 100 watts, and then that comes with a little thing on the back where you can see how everything is working. And when it's working, it's not currently on because it's not yet attached to the battery, so the circuit's not closed. And then you have the cords that go with it. So this is all coming in the one pack, and again, it's by Renogy. And it's called the Travel Adventurer. Here's the Starlink, not pulled out of its box yet, but it comes in this nice little box. We're going to get a hard plastic case to carry it so that because it's not the kind of thing that you're going to hook up and leave attached to your RV. And we actually want it to be ultimately portable so we can go regular camping, like tent camping with it if we needed to. But we'll get a box for that. And then here's our battery. And then here, Geff's bringing out our inverter. So we have no idea if we've bought all the right stuff, but we're going to find out. All right, let's look and see what's in the Starlink.
Got the base. 100-foot cord attached to the actual satellite. Put it in the base. Locks in. And the router and its electrical cable. That's basically all that's in the box.
That's it. Now, from our prior experiences with Starlink, it's pretty much a plug-and-play kind of event. So we've already actually activated this, so that's already taken care of and set it up on our phones. But with the app, that's pretty much all you do. Once this is plugged in and it finds its satellites, you're up and running. As mentioned before, the Starlink antenna actually just needs a view of the northern sky. So we're basically throwing this out here on the deck. We have a pretty good view. There's going to be a little bit of challenge with a tree, but it should have enough power for us to do this test. The 100-foot cable on the Starlink actually plugs right in here to the router. And then the system comes with a reasonably shorter cable that plugs in for power. Now, ultimately, that's going to be
waterproof. They have rubber rings around it.
Yeah, there you go. That's because this is an RV model, and I think it expects that it might get some weather. And then ultimately, this power cord will go into our inverter, which is sitting here, once we get that bit set up. All right, so now we're going to get ready to start hooking the solar panel up to its cables that will go to the battery. So in the case of the battery, we got a marine deep cycle battery, because those can actually drain out and be recharged multiple times efficiently, whereas regular batteries just don't have the lasting power. So the cable itself has these connectors on it that there's only like one way to do it, so you can't mess it up when you're hooking it to the solar panel. And then obviously we're going to follow the hot and ground as we hook up to the battery. So Jeff's going to set up the battery. If you can see on our battery, we actually have this cool little cap on the hot that actually holds the bolts or the nuts, that are going to hook onto our cabling. So it's kind of a cool little feature that they sit there kind of permanently. Now remember that black is ground, red is hot, and so when you do the connections, you're going to have to make sure that you're not crossing them and getting them backwards.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
So the cables that he's hooking up now are actually the cables that are going to go from the battery to the inverter. So you need a place where you can plug in your devices, and so the inverter is going to take this power and convert it into the AC power that you need to be able to plug things in.
So there's probably a little bit of a charge on the battery now since we bought it, but obviously we want to fully charge it. So next we're going to hook up the
solar panels,
to the battery.
So same thing, red and black here. Now these are going to go on the posts on the battery. Now, although you might, you can see it from here. So if you look here, you actually see that the control panel on our solar panel now has a reading. So like I said before, it didn't show, even though the solar panel was in the light, but that's because the circuit wasn't closed. But with the battery on, now the circuit's closed, and you're starting to get various readings about the watts, watts it's generating, and the amps in the battery. Okay, so the next step is to hook the inverter to the battery. And because it's a brand new inverter, we have, it's got little tags on it that we need to take off, but the tags are basically telling us that we need no more than a 6-foot cord, which is the cords that we purchased to go with it.
2 amps.
This is the fiddly bit part. So there's a washer, and it's like a little spacer, and then the nut that hooks the cord on. So first you put on the hot cord, the hot cable, so the red one, to the red terminal. And now he's working on the negative, which will again complete the next part of the circuit.
Get it.
So when working with all of these things that could electrocute you, you just want to make sure you're doing them in the right order. So when you're connecting, you always want to connect the hot cable first, and then followed by the ground cable, which is black. And when disconnecting, you want to take the black cable off and then the hot cable. So that is a way to ensure that you don't harm yourself. All right, so next steps, plugging things in. All right, let's see if it all worked. So when you hit the little button, and it does, we have power. So this is progress in the right direction for people who are not really, knowing what they're doing. We're working through it.
Me. So now we're going to hook up the satellite. Got the box right there. Let's plug it in. And it should be running.
Okay, so the Starlink should start doing its thing in a minute. And basically it'll start moving as it's booting up. All right, so you can see now, we just didn't make you wait with us for that. It took a couple of minutes for the Starlink to start kind of getting into the position it's going to need to get into. Now, it's not going to stay straight up like this, I don't think, although the one on the house does face pretty much straight up. But in any case, it's sort of going through its booting, and it's going to take a minute for it to completely activate. But the success here is that it's actually being powered. And you can see again, it's moving, and I think it's just going through its routine. But the idea or the exciting part for us is that the system that we've put together seems to be running the Starlink fine. Now, from what I've read on, or seen on other videos, about Starlink and batteries is that they will run off of one of these kind of batteries for about 5 hours. But I think that's just somebody who's like put a battery to an inverter. So our hope is that because we are actually generating power through the solar panels that you see over here, that well, now they're in the shade, so that might take a minute. But anyway, because the solar panels are going to generate battery, we should be able to get a full workday out of our internet now. So this is super exciting. And once this goes through its full routine, we'll test to see that we actually can access the internet through it. All right, so here we have my cell, and you can see that we have our various access points, but at the bottom here you can see that it says Starlink RV. Let's see how this works. Well, it looks connected, and we'll go in airplane mode so that the LTE doesn't kick in. All right, so it looks like it's official.
And I also am officially connected to Starlink RV.
Here we go.
We're good to go.
So this has been super successful. Now, interesting, we ended up on this site here, which is iCamper, and we are excited to say that come Tuesday, one of these is going to be on top of our Ford F-150. So that will make us not only capable of being out and being remote in the RV that we own, which is a travel trailer, but also for sites that maybe are boondocking or up in the mountains where we can't take the travel trailer. Now we're going to be able to camp right off the top of our car. Awesome!
And have internet, of course.
And have internet, just like Jeff said. So now that we've ensured that we can actually power our Starlink, the next big question is going to be whether or not we can actually power our computer. Now, the back of this particular model has just 2 ports. So for right now, we're just going to hook one computer to it. But we are going to ultimately need to power 2 computers. We both run Apple MacBook Pros, and then probably 2 external screens. And as you can see, we also have the ability to charge our phone or anything else USB, excuse me. And so we're hoping that this system will actually charge all of it, just so we can work a full day. So we're going to test that now.
Everything seems like it's working great. Let's check just to make sure, check the internet. We'll go somewhere. Let's go to Amazon. Yep, works perfect. Wow, we can work anywhere in the world now. This is fantastic.